File New. My name is Ryan Selvy, and this is your best update of creator news, digital news, art news, design news, you name it, all here on Adobe Live. We're here every Wednesday, and we love to go all over the news that is relevant to you and things that you're interested in for being a creator online, because it's always changing and it's always becoming, you know, this or that. And we like to keep you up to date with everything. Hello to Wade. Thank you for being here as our moderator, as always. Hello to Nate, Axel, Frank, Umacorn, all over on Behance. And then, of course, we have a bunch of friends over on YouTube as well. If you're watching this as a replay, hello to Arif Hosan. Thank you for being here. I love seeing you in the Discord all the time. If you're watching this as a replay, I try to make it as replayable as possible with tons of information for you. So even if you're not here live, which it's always fun when you're here live, but even if you're not here live, it is something that you can still get something out of. So we've got a lot of news to go through today. As Wade mentioned in the chat, he said that all of the links from this week and previous weeks are available on the Raindrop, which are linked in the description under the episode. I have switched from changing them from episode numbers over to dates. So when you go over to the Raindrop, it's going to be June 18th. So let's go ahead and hop on into the news. It's always kind of fun when we have a bunch of Adobe news on the precipice. Today we have some Photoshop news, some Illustrator news, some Firefly news, and all different updates you can access right now in your programs just when you update with Creative Cloud. Hey, Bree. The first thing I want to touch on is with Photoshop version 26.8, which just came out yesterday, June 17th. There are a few cool updates that I want to let you guys know about, and we can even check out and look out on stream. The first one is designing auto-adjusting text layouts with dynamic text. So when you are going into Photoshop and you're creating something with a text box, you now have the opportunity to be able to automatically resize that so that it makes sense for the text box itself. So I'll show you guys. If we go here, the text is gigantic because I was working on something else. And we're going to say something like DLO Designs, who's in the chat, is on YouTube saying hello with an emoji. And Apurva is saying hi to Oliver on Behance. So you can see that's just kind of taking up the space in this text box here, but there is this fun little button up here that says toggle dynamic text, and if I just click that, it's going to resize it to make sense with the entire text box. If I continue to move things around, it's going to dynamically resize it, and it's going to update to have it fill the box to the best of its ability, messing with things like the text size and kerning and tracking, as you see. So that's really helpful for, especially if you're making templates, you're making posters, you're making social media graphics, as it says right here. This is all part of Adobe's initiative for smarter, faster, trusted tool sets for you. And this isn't the only thing that got updated with Photoshop. There were a few other things that I also want to go over. We also have an update to selecting subject. You can now use cloud processing. This is something that was already in the beta, that was the public beta, but now it's in the general release of Photoshop. And this allows you to, when you're in your selection, you can actually go through and you have the ability to also use cloud processing for selecting subjects. So I'm going to quickly just grab a license-free image offline, and what we can do is I can show you guys how when you pick something random, I'm going to pick like a portrait. It's not going to be of me. It's not going to be of anyone that we know. But I've noticed that this works quite well. This is by Jimmy Furman, by the way. It is free to use. This is a CCO image, but I just do want to give credit to Jimmy Furman. That's JIMMYFERMIN. But you can see here that when we press W, you have the select subject, which you can click. And I believe that I probably already have it on cloud, you'll see, with detailed results. Device is going to be quicker results, but they're not going to be as specific. So let's make it a mask. You can see that it's getting kind of these strands of hair. I'm going to go back and we're going to reselect it again, but this time I'm just going to do device and do select subject. And it's going to take a little bit longer, and we'll notice that there is less detail here, and it's not processing in the cloud. We've got some kind of choppy edges here. And just to show you guys one more time, we're going to go back here, make sure we're in cloud, hit select subject, and when we do that, You see it's not choppy here. We have these strands of hair, and then you can always go and you can adjust it. This relies on you being connected to the internet so that you can cloud process, but it speeds up the selection. It makes the selection more accurate, and it's available right in your system settings, which is really cool. And like I said, this is all part of general release now, so if you were waiting on it to be a little bit more solid and stable, here it is. And it's just getting smarter for you. We have a clapping from D-Load Designs. Thank you very much. And then we have one more thing, which is honestly very exciting for me because this is someone who is ripping things from the internet a lot for various reasons, not for commercial use, obviously, but for bringing things into Photoshop. There is finally support for AVIF, which if you are ever using Google search, you'll realize that a lot of times there is AVIF files and you can't open them in Photoshop. Well, now you can. It says you can now open, edit, and save images in AVIF and JPEG XL. Also known as JXL formats, with a wider range of color depths, native HDR support, and lossy and lossless compression for reduced file size. You can create and share heavy visuals without compromise. And this is going to be a convenience factor, but this is also going to be really helpful when you're switching things between your phone and your computer. A lot of times there are also AVIF files that are on your phone with extra information that previously was inaccessible, but is now fully accessible. Let's hop on over to Illustrator. Some Illustrator news. Illustrator was updated 29.6. There is an update to generative graphics. Generate graphics to expand artwork and fill bleed areas. Powered by Adobe Firefly, it lets you generate vector graphics to expand your artwork beyond its original bounds. You can expand just the artwork for ideation or expand the artboard along with the finished artwork to create different layouts for print or social media. Once expanded, you can combine the expanded portion with the original artwork to create logically grouped objects for further editing. You can also use generative expand to fill the print bleed around an artboard. So let's say that you created a beautiful graphic and you want to bring it to print, but there is that little area that you forgot to include bleed. You're like, I don't want to have to create all the assets that are then going to have to just extend this flower, extend this plant. I wish there was a button that could just auto-generate some bleed for me. This is where it's going to help out. Wade is coming in with the link in the chat. I'm actually going to show you guys the official animation that was announced with the updates for this piece of work, and you'll be able to see how it works. It's also available in the general release, but I don't have a full like graphic to show you guys with right now, so this is going to work probably best. So we're just going to go here. You can see all the updates that we're going on with these, but you can see in this case they have an image of this lighthouse. They want to generative expand. They're just expanding it to the side, and with that generation it's going to give them options to be able to flip through to add more floristry to this image, and then that way it can kind of fill to fit the expand of the design a lot better. I think this is another use case of making it extremely useful for you. And as a reminder, it is not trained on your data. It is not trained on your work. This is just using pre-existing data that was consensually given to Adobe. So Adobe is able to use their training that already has its own consensual data, not trained off of your work, and then it can work it into your work by doing it, but it does not train it. It just uses what is already existing. Hello to Alyssa in the chat. Good to have you here. We're just going over some Illustrator updates. Another thing that we have is performance enhancements. This is going along with the initiative for smarter, faster, trusted tools. It has stronger performance for calligraphic brushes and art brushes. They render at a faster rate, and operations such as move, scale, rotate, and duplication are smoother and faster. Buttery smooth for you. That's just something that you're going to have to experience on your own, and with your system, you'll notice some enhancements. One other thing that kind of coincides with that, but is a update to the pencil tool, is previously you weren't able to visualize the pencil in real time. It was like a little thing that then later populated. On the left is how it used to be. Now you can turn on live preview and you can see it in real time to see things that are happening with your pencil. In this case, they even have a drop shadow on the pencil. They have a stroke. You can see that it has smoothing. And that way it's going to use your system resources to be able to physically show you what you're drawing as you're drawing it, rather than having to do this kind of like call and response of this pencil tool. That's all available now in the new Illustrator 29.6, which went out yesterday. And if you have your Creative Cloud handy dandy on your computer, just go ahead, open it up and say, update my files, and then it'll bring you there. In our last Adobe update here for programs, also, yesterday was just a big day for Adobe and launching. We have these certain launch days where there's just like a lot coming out. Yesterday, they also launched Firefly on mobile, which is exciting. It says a bunch of important information here on the official Adobe blog, Adobe Firefly on your phone. And it just helps you access a whole new set of tools that are all just available at the palm of your hand. You can check it out and use all of the different information that they have. And it also does a really good breakdown of the different ways that people are using it and exploring Firefly on their own. It was something that was long in the making. I feel like you guys probably have seen a lot of it in different streams, in different mentions on Adobe, but it is something that is very cool. Also, Firefly boards launched, which is now in public beta. Firefly boards give you one place to create, generate, organize, edit, and collaborate, so you can easily explore a variety of concepts and get to the best ones. Now available to all Creative Cloud users with no more waitlist. And new partner models for generation. There is Ideogram, Luma, Pika, and Runway Frames. They join the other ones that already existed, like Flux, Google, and OpenAI as partner models, giving you more options to choose the model that best suits your specific creative needs. But yeah, so that is the forefront running Adobe news, but we like to cover all sorts of news to make this as resourceful and as informative as possible for you on stream. If you guys are in the California area, VidCon is going on from tomorrow until the end of the week. That's June 19th to 21st. VidCon Anaheim is obviously happening in the Anaheim Convention Center. It is a convention that focuses a lot on video creators and people that are on YouTube predominantly, but it can rely on any different sort of relationship to video. And there is going to be an Adobe presence there. There's actually a happy hour, a creator happy hour. This is tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Pacific, because obviously you're on, the West Coast. And it is time to join Adobe at VidCon for happy hour with fellow creators, connect with the Adobe team, and meet Adobe's VP of Creators. You can get the link to that party full in the raindrop if you would like to go. Make sure you RSVP, and love to meet and network and just get to know people while they're at VidCon. I am not personally there, but I do have friends there that are going to be VidConning it up. So if you're on the schedule already to go to VidCon, make sure you go say hello. And you also, you get to meet the VP of Creators, which is very cool. In some not as awesome news, reporting from The Verge, Dominic Preston is saying that Patreon is raising its fee for new creators soon. This comes from an effort for them to consolidate their tiers of creators. There was a premium and a pro, which are now going to be listed as one. It's raising its creator fees from 10% to 10% from 8%. The premium is now being mixed in with this pro one, so that's technically going down to 10%. But if you still want all of your benefits that you had from premium, there is an add-on that tax on top of it that is 3%. So I guess that brings you to 13%. But this is all, Patreon has always had this history of consistently going in and grandfathering users and creators. So if you already have one, a lot of times you're already grandfathered in. If you sign up before August 4th and you get everything set up and running, you can also get grandfathered in. But this is something that if, for whatever reason, you just don't have time to set things up and you end up creating a page or a profile after August 4th, you will then be using these new fees and this new system for Patreon to get their thing. Penny is saying sounds complicated in the chat. Yes, I mean it's very, it's very specific to people who are using Patreon actively. As users, I feel like if you're contributing to Patreon, you're not necessarily going to see change. But it is just something to know if you are a creator and you are using Patreon. Also, as far as Firefly, Bree is saying that she downloaded it on Monday night and has been playing with it so much more. I would love to see everything that you create. This is also a great time of a good reminder that we do have an Adobe Live server. And this has all of the shows for you. It has File New, your favorite Adobe Live show, has its own channel under Active Show, but there are a bunch of different areas where you can hop in and talk with people when Adobe Live is offline as well. We also have a general channel. If you create anything in the Firefly Mobile, if you create anything in Photoshop or Illustrator, or you're just feeling chatty, make sure you hop in here and you post and share your work. I'd love to either feature it on the show. I'd love to talk to you about it. Already got a thumbs up from somebody who is popping on. Hello to Peter. And this is live and active all the time. So if you are feeling lonely on a Saturday, hop in here, and we are hanging around. So join that. That link is in the description, and I want to make it as resourceful and awesome as it is possible for you guys. So if there's anything you'd like to see in there, if you want to talk in there, if you want to do a hangout in there, you want to do games in there, let me know, and we can explore our different options. Next story is the summer of sales. We talked about this in its previous iteration. It's AE Scripts and AE Plugins, summer of sales. They have different weeks of sales throughout the summer every single year. This is the second week. AE Scripts is a great service that I have actually partnered with in the past. This is not a partnership. This is just announcing it to you guys that it's happening. But the summer of sales is when they take a bunch of discounts across some of their biggest plugins across the site. And you can see here it's from June 16th to June 20th. And there is a whole handful. There are ones that I've definitely messed with on stream before, like Mega Crunch. I've worked with them before. Glitch Control is really cool. It's exactly what you think it sounds like. But there's also a bunch of new ones here. Keystone is one that I use all the time on stream. If you say plug and play, you've seen me use Lazy 2. You've seen me watch Datamosh, Splash. I definitely recommend checking these out. If there's ones that are on here that you have questions about, just go ahead, throw it in the Discord, and I can tell you if I have any experience with it. I have talked with a lot of these developers. I've talked with the creator of AE Scripts a lot, so I can give you my honest opinion here. And let me know if you guys are planning on picking up anything, because some of these plugins really do speed up your workflow, and then you can have a day's worth of work done in an hour. And guess what? You still get to charge for that full day, because guess what? It's still a day's worth of work. All right. Let's go over into some social media news for you creators. You creators, I sound so rude. Instagram tests a repost feature, and this is from our friend Aisha Malik over on TechCrunch. Have you guys ever wanted to create something on Instagram with somebody else, and you're like, okay, you post it. I don't want to be a collaborator, but maybe I'll repost it. This is something that is not rolled out. This is very, very early stages of it, but according to reporting from Aisha, Instagram is testing a repost feature. This is obviously something that was popular on like Tumblr. It was a big deal on Twitter or X and other text-based programs, but it's interesting to see the idea of repost available on a Instagram platform that is now predominantly video and image. It says the upcoming repost functionality will let you reshare the post in Instagram's feed. In addition, some people currently using workarounds and third-party apps to repost content, so an official reshare feature would get rid of the need to find alternatives, which I think could be really helpful. And it also would really help for, I feel like, a lot of the issue that Instagram runs into a lot when people are creating things and posting them on Instagram and then experiencing someone else stealing it and then being like, oh, I'm just sharing your work. That's a whole other conversation in its own sense, but the idea that you would be able to authentically repost it without having to screenshot or downloading it would be really helpful. Oliver's saying, didn't IG make a big deal about down prioritizing reposts? It's always changing. The algorithm's always changing. Also, hello to everyone in the YouTube chat that is helping the algorithm. I did see Clever say algorithm with little popcorn. If you are able to tune in, just tell me where you're tuning in from, because more chat helps the algorithm understand and prioritizes this live stream. So thank you for being active in chat. And if you're able to throw it in the YouTube chat, even more love. Because now more than ever, Americans are turning towards social media for different updates like news. And as you know, this is a news and updates show. It's according to the Neiman Lab, who you guys are probably familiar with Neiman. But it says, for the first time, social media overtakes TV as America's top news source. Plus, the pivot to video is really happening. Digital subscriptions may have peaked, and other finding from RISJ's 2025 Digital News Report. This is linked to in full on the Raindrop, as is everything else. But this is a trend that we've been seeing go up for a long time. You can see here that there is TV is down to 50%. It was up at 72% back in 2013, which now is 12 years ago, but still shows you kind of a sound. Print continues to decrease. Social media continues to increase. Online websites are going down as well. This is something to do also with a bunch of things being pulled. I am seeing so many hellos in the YouTube chat. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you. And hello to New Orleans resident Vincenza. It's great to have you guys. I'm over in Brooklyn. We are seeing that there is AI news that is also emerging. The idea that AI is pulling from the web is wreaking havoc, honestly, on the way that we have our ecosystem. And I was listening to, I believe, a Vergecast episode, or maybe it was the New York Times Hard Fork. I can't remember which one it was. It was one of my techie podcasts. And they were talking about how basically for the longest time there was this incentive to make all of the websites and all of the creation have this extremely strong search engine optimization, because when people went to Google, they were then searching and finding websites that had this different search engine optimization. And what's happening is now different AI systems are replacing general search. And so rather than people going to websites to get the information that they want, it's being served in the dialog box, whether they're searching through Google or OpenAI or Bing or Microsoft, you name it. And so what's happening is there's actually an extreme spike downward in visits to websites. So this can be, in the long term, something could be really good, because now when you go onto like a recipe website, it's not going to be just covered in advertisements and like a bunch of information that's not important, that's not the recipe. But the short-term issue is the fact that now they need to find new revenue models. They need to find new ways to lift up the support system, find out new ways to drive traffic to websites, or just support viewership or subscribers in new ways that previously was focused on ad dollars that came from people being navigated to their website through Google searches. So this is relevant here. I think it's only going to continue. There is a pivot to video happening, whether you like it or not. It says the proportion that prefers to read, watch, or listen to online news. This is something that has been going on for forever. I don't think anyone is surprised by this. But there's a lot of really good information in this report, and it's completely free online for you to go through and cycle and figure out a bunch of different stuff. I don't know if it's your bedtime reading or not, but this is coming from the Neiman Lab staff, and it has some really great stuff for you to check out. Now, moving on, we have Peak Design tripods. This is coming from PC Mag, Jim Fisher. It says, I've used Peak Design's travel tripod for 5 years, but its Pro Series is about to become my new go-to. And this is going out to all photographers, videographers, you name it. Peak Design's latest photo accessory is a carbon fiber tripod that's available in short, standard, and tall sizes. I've had an opportunity to try all three, and I'm impressed by the upgrades. As you all know, a tripod is only as good as its reliability. As soon as you put your camera onto a tripod and it flops down one time, you're like done with it. It could damage your camera. It can ruin your shot. You don't have the confidence that it's going to hold and be what you need. So there was a lot of coverage of these new Peak Design travel tripods because they fold up very small and are able to extend and have great durability. And I personally don't have any Peak myself, but based off of the reviews alone that I saw, I am seeing a lot of really positive re-encouragement about how they're using. They have 3 different series. They have the Pro Series, and they come in Pro Light as well, and they also come in Tall. They have this really interesting like threaded kind of texture to them. It says that it's more stable, skinny aluminum. Center column peak uses for the travel tripod, and then of course it has quick release, I believe, right? Yes, it has quick release plates so that you can get it on that. You don't have to flip it and like slowly unscrew. And yeah, full write up on PC Mag. Let me know if you guys get one. If you guys have a favorite tripod, I would love to hear it because I don't have a super active one right now, and it would be great to have one, but Peak Design is looking strong. Back to social media and back to The Verge. Threads is adding Fediverse content to your social feeds. A dedicated feed and better search will make social web content much more visible in Threads. Now you're either saying one of three things. Oh, this is cool. I didn't know about this. 2, oh my gosh, we're talking about the Fediverse again. And 3, what is the Fediverse? Fediverse, super long description consolidated down to like 2 sentences, is basically approaching social media not tied to one social media service, but instead using it as a hose or a feed that can then be picked up and used by many different social services. So just think that when Threads is accessing the Fediverse, it's not just exclusively on Threads. It can also be accessed on Blue Sky if Blue Sky creates a bridge with AT Protocol, but also on Mastodon and other services that now are created to then show you the content or publish the content. Now, this is something that Threads has spoken support of and said that they wanted to go into the idea of the social web, but this is the first time well, not the first. This is the clearest step that they've taken thus far to show you that this is an active step towards producing content that then goes towards the Fediverse. Before, you could kind of set it up and you could post it, but like notifications were messed up and the way that you posted were messed up. This is the first time they're creating its own dedicated feed that you would then be able to follow into and access it. It's interesting to see. We'll see, because obviously, as you know, Threads is owned by Meta. And it might be the best way for Meta to survive is to embrace the Fediverse. For all of my New Yorkers here, New Yorkers that are actually pretty far away from me, because this is news about the New York Botanical Garden, not the Brooklyn Botanic Garden, which I am way closer to. But Van Gogh's famous flower paintings are brought to life at the New York Botanical Garden. They're finding really cool ways to show it alongside their different flowers, alongside their different forestry and plants. And they have these gigantic sculptures that are then bringing his paintings of the famous flowers that he's drawn over time, from like sunflowers, and putting them on these sculptures that then interact with the piece. This is going to be on display all summer, from my knowledge. And let's see here. It says that it celebrates the Dutch master's love of nature. They have these giant sunflower sculptures that are kind of popped up. And I just love that they didn't approach it the same way for everywhere across the garden. They're obviously huge for people to interact, great for photos. And I would, apparently on select dates, the sky comes alive with a starry night drone show, lighting up the night with Van Gogh's iconic swirling skies, which I would love to see, but I would just have to stop being lazy and go all the way up to the Bronx. So if you have plans to go see it, you have plans to go to New York for the summer, maybe you can add this on your list of things you want to do. Oliver's saying I'm trying to post more on Blue Sky. I also have fallen off on Blue Sky. I need to post on there more again. I do check it for news, but I am not the best at posting on it. But if you want to follow me on there, it's ryanselvy.com, RyanSelvy.com. Oliver says Ryan hasn't mentioned Blue Sky for a few weeks, and look, now here we are. I'm mentioning it again. What are we going to do about it? Back to creator resource news. I wasn't sure if this was going to be resources or spotlight or news or what you name it. By the way, Nate is saying that the flowers are amazing for Van Gogh. I know. I was looking at it. I really am interested in going. I just have to get up there. It's a journey. It's a trek, but would be worth it. They had one for Nightmare Before Christmas that I wanted to go, and I never got around to it, but would like to see it. This is for you Wacom users, who knows. Coming from Creative Block, Ian Dean published yesterday that the new modular adjustable stylus designs that came out is really exciting and worked really well for him. He was skeptical at first, but then says that the ability to change the weight, the size, the feeling of the pen really went a long way. You can switch between super thin or super thick. You're able to move around the weight within the pen itself. It has the buttons that you can also adjust, and it is really focusing on the idea that not every artist's hand is the same, and that everyone has different approach and appreciation for stylus. So he gave this glowing review, said it was very, very cool. You can see it has 3 buttons. The one that I have just has this like 2 little dot right here. Oliver's saying whack 'em and says that this is very cool. Does anybody else here have a tablet they use? Would you guys be interested? I've never found much issue with this one, but now I'm wondering if I were to have a different one that I could adjust, if I would then grow partial to it and realize that there are parts about this that I do not like. Oliver says his has 2 buttons. Oliver is, Umacorn's also surprised by this update, but we'll love to see it. Like I said, the Cintiq that I have is from the early 2010s, so I guess I'm due for an upgrade. But I've got a wedding to pay for, so not yet, unless anyone wants to send me something. Sense Labs, Umacorn saying, which is a big competitor to Wacom. And Penny also has 2 buttons as well. Yes, I think that the 3 buttons is a new feature, and interesting to see. I don't know what I would do all 3 for. I barely use the 2 that are already there, but would be interesting to see. And the last piece of news we have before we go on to Font of the Week, like I said, it was a very news-heavy week, is coming from Sarah Perez at TechCrunch. It is a first look at the rebooted Dig. If you are a internet veteran and you remember the days before just Reddit, there was also Dig, which was very similar but had quite a dramatic downfall and fall from popularity because they had like a redesign and a rebrand. Well, they're coming back. They just released the very first beta of it to phones, and you can finally see what it looks like. It looks, in part just an evolution of what was before, but now kind of prioritized for mobile. It also has priority of user pages and profiles. But same sort of thing. You upvote the things you like, you downvote the things you don't like, which adds to a universal scoring system that then moves up and down. Once again, as always, similar to Reddit, but its own thing. It'll be interesting to see if this becomes a smashing success, or it's kind of like, when MySpace was bought again and they tried to bring it back and then it didn't really work. It says at its height, Dig site was valued at $175 million, but it was split up and sold for parts a decade later. They're teaming up also with Reddit co-founder Alexis Ohanian to bring the brand back and reinvent the site for a new generation of internet users. Oliver is on the wait list. Anybody else on the wait list? Would love to know. But that is all of the news for the news section. Let's hop into Font of the Week. Y'all are real quiet on the YouTube chat today, so we're going to change that. We're going to start up a poll. We can get you guys active over on YouTube. Font of the Week is something that we do every single week, and we present 3 fonts that are available on Adobe Fonts, and then you can add them to your armory of different typefaces. But we vote to see which one is the best one of the 3 that we've picked. This week we have Haas Round, Homage Script, and Transducer. Transducer's name is there. It's just a little bit tinier. I'm going to go ahead and put up the poll, but as we hop into it, I suggest that maybe you wait a little bit until you vote, because you might change your mind. Oliver's giving me eyes in the YouTube. Apurva does want to know in the previous story what happens to people who chew through their Wacom pens. Dogs beware. Okay. Haas Round is a very soft font, which is why I picked it. I liked the round edges that it has. I mean, it's even in the names, but it also has this alternate of italics that gives it new personality and feeling. It comes to us from Mark Caniso from PS Type. It says that it has 14 weights here. That includes the italics as well, but it's very smooth and soft. Will be good for maybe a kids related activity or a kids thing, maybe comics, maybe soap related. What you're looking at right here in the file new section here is just the medium section, but you can see here that you can bring it all the way down to light. You can also bring it all the way up to ultra, which feels very bubbly and feels very toyish. You can also bring in italics, and like I said, the italics give it a new feeling. It looks less bubbly to me in italics form, especially with the change in weight of the E here. You can see that in a few different places. Also how it kicks out with the W. let me see if we can find, like, the lowercase a, what's in italics is different. I'll show you that it's more mono weight when you're just bringing it in the regular. I guess not, actually. It's just different weighted in different places. You can see here that as it connects to the stem here in the A is when it changes. But that's my name, Ryan Selvy. And looking at it in regular, but also doing it in italic. It's interesting to see. As always, we love to hop into the alternates, where you can either switch in and out of some of the little curlies that we have. We also always hop into the glyph section under Windows Glyphs, and like to look to see if there's any pretty stuff here. We have some arrows, fractions, lots of support for a bunch of different languages and accents, all available within the glyphs menu. But for the sake of consistency, we're going to use some arrows here that are included in the glyphs. And we're going to change this to File, New. We're also going to look at this when we just do regular. Ta-da! And it moves along with it. It also has trademark, registered, at, copyright. The important things for you guys making money on the web. Clever, thank you for the goofy face. Next up, we have the homage script, which is not pronounced homage script, as much as I want to make it that. This is a script font, as you notice in the name, but this has a lot of personality and a lot of flourish for it. So maybe this would be something that's way more fancy, something that feels a little bit more, I don't know, regal, something that could feel... ooh, this even has a little drop in here. But at the same time, it still feels grungy to me, is which why I kind of liked it. It feels like it has attitude. It comes only in one weight. It has a bunch of variants for it. It has a rooster. I guess that's the logo, maybe, for the brand that makes it. So we'll put the little rooster there. I don't think they have an arrow, unless I missed it. They don't have an arrow, but they have... bunch of ligatures and connectors if you need them. They have a lowercase fi, but I don't believe they have an uppercase fi, which makes sense. I feel like that's not quite normal to have. Alyssa's saying, ooh, she's fun. She's a fun girly, isn't she? We'll just do these little arrows because the other arrow didn't pop up. But for what it's worth, I guess, because I did not mention who created this. This is from Garage Fonts, or Garage Fonts, depending on where in the world you are. And it is independent type foundry based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So if you love Pittsburgh, this is for you. And then finally, we have Transducer, which is... kind of, they advertise it with their display as kind of like a watch face design. It feels very square. It feels very modular. It has lots of support for different icons in their glyphs. This is very readable at all scales. And it has a few different weights, from condensed all the way to like extended. It has black, light hairline, as far as if you want to get really, really thin. Or you can go all the way up to like extended black. So it has a lot of variety, a lot of flexibility, and it just is a pretty cool looking font. Also, did you guys realize that you can go, like, you know, sometimes when I link it, I'm like, oh, I forgot to sync it to my system. You can just click on more fonts up here, and then from there, you can switch it. I think, what was the other thing that I learned the other day that I wanted to teach you guys? Was it like Shift Delete or Control Delete? Yes. If you have like typeface selected and you have color in your swatches here, and you want to switch the color of the typeface to whatever you have, you don't necessarily have to go up and like change the color here or like highlight it all. If you just select it all and you hit Alt Delete or Control Delete, it's going to get you the foreground and background colors that you then can just apply to your type. Just something to have in your back pocket. So I'm going to put that to regular, and then we're going to size it down. So I will now allow you guys to vote as much as you want between these three. We have Haas Round, Homage Script, and Transducer, which are all three great typefaces. I guess Haas and Transducer are way more similar than Homage, but I still like to think that they're all pretty different. And let us know who we need to give the crown to. Penny Doodle emerges from sparkly clouds and rainbows flying down on a wing corner. Did I hear font of the week? Mr. Krabs, I have a question. I'll give you little sparkles in the chat. Maybe some clouds as well. Oh, no, it doesn't question. It would be, Mr. Krabs, I have an idea. It's a SpongeBob reference, y'all. And Control Delete says Nate. Also, Clever is happy for legibility. And thank you, Oliver, for the unicorns in the YouTube chat. I'm going to keep this up as we hop into other stuff. And once you guys pick font of the week in about like 10-15 minutes, we will give the crown to the winner. But I want to hop into our next segment, which is resources. This one goes out to all of the designers that are interested in accessibility. You're really cool. I think that you're really awesome because a lot of times I forget to make my designs accessible because it is a whole nother level that you need to focus on when you are approaching already the aesthetics and the feeling of your design. There is a very cool website that I was pointed to this week that is called designbeyondbarriers.com. And it has a cool interface to be able to hop between all the different questions that you might have. If you want to just have it like way more boring, you can go into this categorized list. But the chat bubbles are fun because it has people that are walking around with like goofy little outfits. But it's a really good way to address a bunch of different questions about making sure that your designs are accessible to not just the masses, but also individuals that might have disabilities or need a little bit of extra resourcing to be able to interact with your product, your design, you name it. For this question that I'm just going to call out here, it's how do I choose the right type size? And it says there's no one size fits all answer because readability depends on more than just size. It's about contrast, text hierarchy, and even the typeface you choose, font of the week. So before we dive into type size, let's talk contrast. It says the WCAG doesn't specify font sizes, but it provides contrast guidelines that impact legibility. For large texts that are like 18 point or 14 bold, the minimum contrast ratio is 3:1, meaning the text needs to be at least 3 times darker or lighter than the background to be accessible. For body text, that contrast ratio jumps to 4.51, making it even more critical that the text stands out clearly. They can show you here that there is like Helvetica and Bodoni. And it shows you the legibility of it. It can show you how when you're messing with the type size, you're also messing with some of the kerning. You're messing with the leading. It gets you to a place to make sure you're reading. There are also questions like typesetting recommendations. It is an exhaustive whole rundown with wonderful guidelines of not just things that are static, but also motion, gestures, interactions, and making sure that what you create is available to the masses, plus individuals that might have a little bit more specific needs. It also has tips and tricks to like make images more accessible. And it also having alt text or something so that when you have something like on Blue Sky, I know there's even a setting where you can go and you can say, don't let me post anything unless I provide alt text to images. So if you forget, it's going to say, wait, no, before you post that, you are going to need to describe what this image is. That way, if someone isn't able to see it or, you know, has accessibility, they can still be part of the conversation because the alt text will then supplement for the image information. Other resources, there is a good blog post on Adobe Express that I wanted to share with you guys. It is all about video on LinkedIn. I'll admit I'm very bad at LinkedIn. I don't understand it fully, but I do know that it is super important. It has 1 billion users globally, and it's the world's largest professional network. It also now has support for video, and they're really pushing video. Luckily, Express has a support for video now, and you can create cool things with animations, with editing. But they go in and they bring in some of this LinkedIn specific best practices for video on LinkedIn. If you're interested in posting to it, it says keep it short and focused, optimize for mobile, maintain brand consistency and know your audience, use native video uploads, test and iterate. There are templates that if you want to try it out on Adobe Express itself, but make sure you check it out. In general, the Adobe Express blog is super awesome. And I would suggest checking it out for even, just social media advice and how things work. And then corner radius. This is something that we kind of advertised the show about. It's something that I came across. Apparently it was posted back in 2023, but I only learned about it just recently. It is a quick tip for nested radius. If your corners are the exact same radius when you create the size, it's going to look kind of wonky. You can see here is the outer radius and the inner radius are the same. So the corner radius they have at 20 pixels. Wow, this is a horrible brown. How did we get to this brown? We're just going to pick like a yellow here. And we're going to go ahead. We're going to copy it and we're going to bring it down and give it a different color so that we can tell the difference. We'll do white. And this is at what? Is it 52? Let's see. Why won't you let me pick? Well, okay, we'll put it to 50, right? And then we'll go here and we'll do 50. And you can see that there's like this weird strength here, okay? What you would want to do is you're going to want to find out the padding. And what this suggests is that your inner radius is going to be the, your outer radius is going to be your inner radius plus the padding. So in this case, there is a, how much pixels? So this is what, like 41? All right, so let's see here. And if we go here and we add 41 to this, so it's 91. It's going to look a lot more natural around the edges here. And then it feels way more, wow, it looks so much better. So this is the after and this is the before. And you would say like, oh, you would think that it would look best with all of them the same. But in reality, when you add the side, it's going to go along that edge a lot better. Clever is making fun of me for the way that I'm doing radius and radii. Oliver is saying, alternatively, you could say that your inner radius is the outer radius minus the padding. Yes, that is how math works, and that's a good way of putting it as well if you want to adjust with the first entirely. But regardless, really good to have in your back pocket. It's going to really upgrade the design that you have for your work, and I would suggest just keeping that in mind. Let's hop into a few reels that we have going on. These are just for some AI shortcuts from the Pro Design channel. And this is a really nifty tool to show you the different things that you can do with shortcuts. With Control 7, Control 8, Control Alt C, Shift W, and Alt Control B. Alt Control B is going to be your blend. You can see with Control 7, it's going to do like a Pathfinder situation. With Control 8, it's going to take out from the front rather than the back. Control Alt C is going to get you to fill that space. Shift W is going to mess with your weights. And then, yeah, the Alt Control B is going to mess with your blending. So this is just cool to have. If you even just screenshot it and put it off to the side, it's an easy way to remember certain kind of shortcuts that you can do to speed up your workflow. This is all within Adobe Illustrator, and this is from the Pro Design. It's _Pro Design account on Instagram. They have a bunch of really great updates and quick tool sets like this that I just tend to save and come back to later. And then the one other one that we had from Instagram that we're kind enough to incorporate into our show is lighting in Photoshop, and this is coming from Louis Angerer. I need to make sure that when we do this, though, this is going to have audio capture output because I want to make sure you guys hear his voice. He walks through the benefits of being able to color your Instagram reel, or color your work.
This, we don't do that. Instead, pick a solid color and go to the blend if options. By turning the left slider to the right, you gradually remove all the darker areas, making your light appear more natural. Holding down the Alt key allows you to split the sliders for even a smoother transition. And now invert your mask and paint the light back at certain areas where you want it to be. You can always change your color and increase the saturation for a stronger effect. Create another solid color layer, but make it a bit brighter. Set your brush flow to around 3% and then start painting a rim light around the edges of your object. Look at the before and after. That's how you paint light in Photoshop.
So yeah, I think this is a really good call out. I think it's an interesting way because a lot of times, yeah, you'll see people that are using just like a solid color and then they're just putting it on with some sort of blend mode. But when you're doing this and you're actually interacting with the image, you're able to actually bring out where natural highlights and natural shadows are going to be happening so that it feels more lit, like it happens in an entire experience. This is another one that I would suggest just saving and then, you know, come back to. All right, so we are short on time. I want to just take a quick second to quickly do rebrand here as we were talking about rounded corners, and I want to talk quickly about for this one. This is actually where I found that original other one. Is from Creative Block, coming from Daniel John, and talking about the inconsistencies of the new software with the rounded corners. And if you were wondering what it was like with rounded corners when they don't look as consistent, surprisingly, that's kind of what the developer beta is looking like on these new services with Apple. You can see that they're extremely more round. They're not necessarily matching the roundness of the size of the part of the phone or of the computer, and that it's creating a weird connection because now you also have to imagine and understand the corners that are happening on the edge of the screen. Previously, they kind of kept that in mind with the idea of the roundness of the edges, but since they're creating a more bubbly, circular, liquid design, they're doing having some issue with the round corners as they relate to the sides of the screen. Does that bother you guys? What do you think? Oliver's saying, I strongly dislike the new excessively rounded windows in Tahoe. Yes, and that's what they're talking about, which is interesting to see Apple have a hard time with designers. Then finally, before we pick our type of the week, I did want to call out real quick, AJ Fierixis helped celebrate Adobe Live, reached 60,000 followers on Instagram, and created this really cool poster design with lots of colors and custom type. He shared it with us via Instagram, but also popped up on the Discord, which was able to kind of I was able to check out. Wanted to then just say thanks and show you guys that when you do share things on the Discord and stuff, I am seeing these things and I'd love to highlight and spotlight you. And it's great to have you guys involved in the whole process. All right, guys. But since we have like only a minute left or so, I think it's time to crown the winner of the poll. And so I'm going to go ahead and end this poll. And with 57% of the vote, the winner goes to Homage Script. Clap, 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 clap. A big congrats to Homage. This is the winner chicken dinner. You guys liked the script font this week. Thank you guys for voting. I will make sure I put it into the Discord server. And let me know what you guys have suggestions for next week as far as typefaces. Next week is our last episode of the season, and then we're taking a little break. We'll be back in the middle of July. But next week will be the last episode of season 3, and that will be June 25th, same time, same place. Thank you very much to everyone who tuned in and said hello in the chat. It was great having you guys, and I will see you all real soon. Coming up next is Office Hours with Andrew and Nick. So, thanks. Bye.